I'd like to call to order the Milan Area Schools Board of Education special meeting for Thursday, July 24th, 2025. Would everyone please rise as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you to those board members and staff that are here and those who will be watching the recording. All board members are present except for Mr. Farrow is excused, Ms. Pryor is excused, and Ms. Murray is excused. In Ms. Murray's absence, Ms. Heike will be taking minutes as acting secretary. So we do have a quorum of 4 board members. First up is communications and community engagement. A reminder, this meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public meeting. There is one time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. When addressing the board, you will be asked to state your name. The board determines the amount of time granted or individuals or groups to speak. Each person shall be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes. Board members may question speakers but are not obligated to answer questions or make statements or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such items will be referred to the superintendent for advisement, investigation, study, and/or recommendation, or designated as future agenda items for board consideration. Are there any students who'd like to address the board? Are there any public members who'd like to address the board? Seeing none, we will move on to routine matters for approval. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 9th, 2025.
Moved by Heike.
Support by Gutierrez.
So moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 9th, 2025. Are there any questions or concerns? All right, it's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 9th, 2025. Ms. Heike?
Gutierrez.
Yes.
Heike, yes. Sislo.
Yes.
Burdette.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Next up, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting closed session of July 9th, 2025.
Moved by Burdette.
Support by Gutierrez.
It's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting closed session of July 9th, 2025. Again, those are in the sealed envelopes. You can pass those in if there's no questions. Thank you. So it's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting closed session of July 9th, 2025. Ms. Heike?
Gutierrez.
Yes.
Heike, yes. Sislo.
Yes.
Burdette.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right, thank you. So the reason for this meeting on our strategic plan in the area of learning environment and culture, we do have a curriculum purchase which is time sensitive. It's the ELA curriculum for young 5s through 5. Mr. McMahon and Ms. Bookout have put together a presentation for us this evening to walk through. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Bookout.
So as Mr. Sislo said, we're here today to recommend the purchase of a new ELA curriculum for our students in young 5s through 5th grade to support strong literacy instruction across all of our elementary classrooms. This proposal is recommended, our recommendation is grounded in research aligned with some newly passed state laws, and also takes advantage of some available state funding that we have right now. So the reason why we started thinking about a new ELA curriculum is because of the science of reading. So the science of reading is a body of research that has been going on for many, many decades about how the brain actually learns to read, and has become more and more popular and widespread starting in about 2018. So as a district, we've really been diving into this for the past several years and learning more and starting to analyze our current literacy programs. And what we found is that our current literacy programs, particularly in elementary, weren't really aligning with those research-based best practices. And so our teachers and our literacy coaches have spent quite a lot of time creating supplementary materials to fill in those gaps. And while that's worked for us in the short term, we knew that that really wasn't a long-term solution. So we knew that if we wanted to have some stronger reading outcomes, we needed to make sure that we had materials for all of our classrooms that was evidence-based, comprehensive, and consistent across our classrooms. At the same time that we were grappling with the science of reading, the state of Michigan and our policymakers were also doing the same. In 2024, the state passed the K-12 literacy and dyslexia law. Part of that law mandated statewide implementation of science of reading practices, which was including these evidence-based curricular programs, and the program we were using was not on that list. They also developed a committee for literacy achievement that created and analyzed lists of curricular programs to make sure that what was being adopted by school districts was going to be aligned with that most cutting-edge research. In addition to that, to support the law, the state created a 35M literacy grant to support districts in adopting these approved evidence-based literacy programs. And for us, this really presented an ideal opportunity to fund a new aligned ELA elementary curriculum, which is something we had been looking at doing before this time. So the first step in our curriculum review process, our elementary literacy coaches, Tracy Terrace and Tanya Saragoza, conducted extensive research to identify programs that were aligned to the science of reading, as well as literacy best practices. I wanted to include a screenshot of some of the work that they've done, that they put this together and created this, just to show the hours of time and energy that they put in to looking across all kinds of different platforms, aligning with ed reports, other curriculum review sites, as well as professional reading organizations, to make sure that any program that we looked at had high marks across all of the boards, to make sure that we were choosing the absolute best program. For the second step in our curriculum selection process, our literacy coaches presented all of their findings and presented their top 5 programs to all of our grade levels for review and discussion. The grade level teams then had time, they had access to preview all of those curricular programs and to discuss as grade levels, and they then selected their top 3 choices and presented them to our literacy coaches. At that point, we pulled in 3 different vendors to give presentations. We had representatives from each grade level, as well as representatives from our intervention team, our special education team, and also our administrators. And so we listened to our vendor presentations. And at that point, we then took feedback and we worked on a final recommendation. Based on that, the overwhelming selection from our grade levels in every group that was just part of this conversation was CKLA, which is Core Knowledge Language Arts. Coincidentally, we didn't know this at the time, but when the state of Michigan released their list of approved programs, CKLA was their #1 selection. So we were excited to see that it aligned. So CKLA, some of the highlights for this program: it is a comprehensive curriculum. It covers all elements of English language arts, including reading, writing, spelling, speaking, and listening, and it is fully aligned with the science of reading. It's also knowledge-rich, so it builds in background knowledge in history, science, literature, and the arts, and it has embedded supports for all learners, including English language learners, students with disabilities, and it includes intervention resources and daily vocabulary support. Some of the strengths that our teachers identified, they felt really impressed by the strong assessment and progress monitoring tools that were embedded in the curriculum. They appreciated the differentiation and intervention support that was already part of the program. It was very well integrated with their science and social studies. It includes things like morphology, spelling, and handwriting, which were things that were not part of our previous curriculum, so that was something that we had to actually purchase other resources to do, and this funds it all in one. The teacher materials are very comprehensive, and they felt that it was manageable and realistic for them to implement in classrooms, which is obviously incredibly important. CKLA offers an incredibly strong professional development program as well. So we have a half-day program overview for leaders, so those are our building leaders as well as our instructional coaches. It also includes a full day of in-person teacher training for all of our grade levels. Later in the year, there's a half day of implementation support where the trainers will come back to the building and they will talk about how implementation is going and provide personalized professional development. There's also a full day of coaching support where a coach again comes into the building and coaches individual teachers. There's a virtual support option, and there's also online modules for teachers as needed. The average cost per grade level is $13,900. There is some variation between grade levels depending on the materials that students are using. And those costs do include online teacher access, online student access, student consumables, and then a classroom kit of materials that stay, and that's a one-time purchase. And then our professional development costs are on the screen, and those include all of those in-person training and coaching sessions, as well as virtual access to all of the modules. So the total cost is $120,428 for year one, with an additional cost of $91,290 for years 2 through 4. So this would be a 5-year purchase, but we do have it broken down into 2 sections here. We do intend to fund this program through the 35 grant that is part of the state's recommendation for this purchase. Unfortunately, final grant amounts have not been released by the state at this time. We estimate we'll receive at least $105,000. We're hopeful that it will be significantly more than that, but we anticipate that it'll be at least that. The need for this sense of urgency is we need to make sure that our teachers are going to have these materials in hand before school starts. And because these are books and consumables students need, the shipping time requires that we place this order now to make sure that it's ready by the time our students are in the building. We are confident that the purchase aligns with the 35M literacy grant, and we anticipate that a significant portion will be reimbursed once our allocations are finalized. Any questions or comments?
I just want to thank you and the team. Appreciate all the work that's done to do this. And now, Ms. Terrace, she's being replaced, right? Okay, so that's going to be, the new person will be part of the evaluation of how well this is working. Okay. I guess one question I do have is, like with some of the curriculum that we've approved for like the older grade levels, they've actually, the students tried it. Is this did the students try any of these curriculum as part of the testing?
We were really hoping to have this next year be a pilot year. That was our plan, was that we would have a year of piloting this curriculum. Unfortunately, when the state released the grant said that the purchase had to be made for this school year, or we would lose the funding. So our options were to fund a pilot or to fund full adoption. And we thought it would make more fiscal sense to fund a full adoption, particularly when this was our top choice curricular program.
Cool, thank you. Others? Ms. Heiko?
That $91,000 number, is that $91,000 each year of 2 through 5, or it will cost $91,000 for those years? Like, is that the total number, or is it going to be 91 times 3?
It's the total number.
Okay.
Ms. Gutierrez?
Mrs. Bookout, my understanding is that this program then will meet the requirements of the new law in the state of Michigan, correct? And that our current program, just as is bare bones, does not meet those requirements, correct?
That is correct. So if we don't purchase this program, we will have to purchase an additional program.
Something
That
else.
it will have to be something.
Yeah, so we will have to replace the program.
Correct.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, State Senator Jeff Irwin has been a huge advocate of the dyslexia portion of this. So he's always been at the WISD legislative breakfasts and talking to us, the leadership, about the dyslexia portion of this. So, Mr. McMahon?
Yeah, thank you. I'd want to jump in and say a few things. First, thank you to Tanya and Tracy, Tanya Sergos and Tracy Terrace. They did exceptional work. I would say to the extent that the state committee did as well. So the state put a portion of their grant dollars towards creating a committee of statewide literacy folks to do the investigation of the curricular programs, then rank order them for the schools to choose from. I think Tanya and Tracy did about the same work. In fact, maybe more, because they were vetting programs before the list came out, and some of the programs they vetted didn't get added to the list. And it comes down to some politics and financial reasons. For example, there's a really good program out of Louisiana that's not for sale. It's free. So they didn't submit to the MDE application because they have no reason to, and therefore we couldn't consider it. But we didn't know that at the time, so they did a ton of work. And you saw a little snippet of that spreadsheet. They were terrific, and I really appreciate all the work they did. They made my job a little easier. And I also want to thank Mrs. Bookout. She was involved in these conversations back when she was principal at Simons, because that was the grades. We started talking about science and reading and doing some of the trainings, and she led the PD on that. And then she now is involved for taking over for me on the grant side of things, and so she's hustling and put this presentation together for us, and she's jumping in and out. And I'm still helping, but she's done great work. And part of the committee work, it was based on the law. So this example of where the legislature did back MDE a little bit in terms of we've changed the law for literacy reasons and for literacy and dyslexia. Well, they're funding a little bit of the investigation. So you had to meet the requirements of the law to make the list. So that was one of the requirements. So we're excited to get this rolling. And I will also add, this is a little different than our normal process because we're being pushed by grant timelines. We normally have more time. We can do some piloting and practicing with multiple programs. We got pushed in a little different direction with this one, but we're confident it was our top choice. It was MDE's top choice. The vendors are great. They're working with us in terms of the purchasing. This isn't normally broken up like this. So everybody's being really flexible to try and make it work, and we're just waiting for final word from MDE. We do know we have 105 promised, as much as they can promise, but that 105 was based on if every school selected implementation, because it's based on a lump amount and then per kid. But I already know that not all schools have applied for the grant or for that piece of the grant, so therefore the per student allocation should go up. So we should get some more. So we're waiting to see that.
Others? Ms. Heika?
So, hi, for turning that up. I recall the last time we had a curriculum purchase that there is like a general timeline on how long it takes to really implement a new curriculum, and then how long it takes to see like what the results are from the curriculum. Can you remind us on what those like generally accepted timelines are?
Yeah, I mean, it really takes a full year because it depends on the training you can access. I'm sorry, my computer's not. It depends on the training that you can access. Typically, we would get vendors to come in if it's the start of the year for a couple days in the opening PD days or at the start and after school time. And then it takes a year of practice, and then usually you have vendor training visiting throughout the year. In this case, it's a little bit different because we actually have literacy coaches that are going to be helping with the implementation. So we have on-site support. And Brandy Ignagne and Christy Schwartz and Jen are all versed in literacy. So there's a lot of support here for that. But we are dedicating a day and a half, essentially, of the 3 PD days towards this time. And then there's already built-in days throughout the school year. Jen talked about those. So it would take a year to get used to, for sure. And then you can go the second step the second year. I'm optimistic we'll see results quickly. To see full results, really, because you're going to have, what you have here is you have students in 4th and 5th grade, say the upper grades, that are seeing this for the first time versus 3 years from now they'll have grown with it. But it's a much more comprehensive program instead of us piecemealing in the science of reading components that the coaches really worked hard at doing and modifying our old one. It's going to be more fluent. So it'll take some time to get used to, but I'd like to say by the end of the first year, but certainly by the end of the second year, we'll start seeing some results.
And then, is there, and maybe this is too far out in the future to know, but in the analysis of all of the programs, was there analysis of what happens after year 4? Like, is this like an ongoing program that's going to get updated that we'll make another purchase in, or how does that work?
Yeah, Jen, correct me, you've been talking to the vendors about this, but part of the deal is we're signing a 7-year lease for the teacher digital materials. They only charge you for 5 years. And then the consumable piece is a 5-year commitment. So right away, we can just add 2 years of consumables, and we already have the digital license taken care of. So it could be up to 7 years, which I anticipate it will be. And it's because it's an online-based program, they can make modifications pretty much, in real time. So it will be updated. And MDE is going to be closely aligned with the law and make sure that, the assessments are lined up. So, yeah, it'll be evolving, but at the end of it, there's no time limit on the grant. We picked 5 years because that was an affordable kind of middle ground between what we think we're getting the grant and not. It can be extended to 7 pretty easily, and that's sort of what we think is going to happen. But time will tell.
All right. Any other questions or concerns? All right, thank you for the presentation. So I need a motion to approve the Young 5s through 5th grade ELA curriculum purchase as presented in Attachment A.
Moved by Heika.
Support by Gutierrez.
It's been moved and supported to approve the Young 5s through 5th grade ELA curriculum purchase as presented in Attachment A. Any further discussion? Ms. Heike?
Heike, yes. Sislo?
Yes.
Burdette?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right, the meeting is adjourned at 5:22.